Welcome to a brutal Vulcan playthrough. This is episode 12, Skybox edition. I'm doing the typical sort some more, and I'll do some degassing, some smelting, and I'll start constructing components I'll need for my new cooling system. This design is sort of a split between my experiment 1 and experiment 2. And I'll talk more about that once I actually start building it. So here I'm constructing the various components, organizing some items. So this is all sped up. And I'll go check my water supply. Also, I'm gathering up some of the items. I have some items here. I have some items in the, I guess you call it the water production room on the shelf there. And swap batteries and take a look at this. And let's turn all that off and basically I'm venting the gas out because it's a little too warm. Yep. Here I'm collecting some items. I have most of the plumbing stuff in here, and I have the electronics in here. I think I overdid the pipes. Fortunately now you can upgrade them, so if you just have a lot of normal pipes and you need insulated pipes, you make the upgrade piece and just go ahead and upgrade them up. And while I'm doing all that, I'm trying to manage the furnace here. I think it's a little too cold for silicone, unfortunately, so. I missed a peak. The priority is on getting the cooling system up and running. That's the core, let's call it the top priority at this point issue to resolve. Because once I have that setting, then that will reduce some of the manual things I've been doing. So in general, the goal is to automate more and more and more. And this is the next thing in automation. I need a much better stage 1 cooling system. So I'm putting that in there. And if I need to double the power, I just replicate it and put a second one in. It should scale up pretty easily, as long as you don't put them next to each other. You got to space them out a little bit. Make it another large heat exchanger. They're not that expensive. I mean, they require space, but as far as building it, it's really not that big of a deal right now. All right, so it's cool enough to get out here and start doing some building. So I'm looking for a spot to put it. I guess I'll stick it over here. I don't want it. I need it close to the hydroponic, to the cooling room, but I don't want it right next to the other fan there. Trying to get it in that slot without moving. And weld away. Now this part right here I'm not really using. I'm just extending the platform so I don't wander around and fall off the platform while I'm working. Alright, so I'm going to hang the large power bin over the side there until I discover that I can't actually do that. So I'm going to put a little platform, and I can't do that either, so I figure let me try to hover a little bit. It's a little lower, and the frame being larger is a little easier to come dropping right now. I should be stabilized. It's not too bad. I'm a little lower now than, so the drop is not too quick. So get a little platform on here just to get this up here. So if you see my experiment videos, or if you haven't, I'll explain what I'm doing. So the first part of the problem is I need to bring a lot of atmospheric gas in during the night. So I'm using a large power vent. From experiments, it generates twice the flow as a normal power vent, and normal power vent is about twice as much as an active vent. So this gives me a lot more movement. And the reason why you want to move a lot of air is the more air, the more pressure, the more pollutants, the more liquid. Also, it has a cooling effect built into it, so it helps keep it reasonably cool. And I think I forgot something, so rush back in and get it. Oh, and I was going to do, so at night hit, so I want to turn this system back on. So we'll close that, turn this on, and turn that on. And no water in there, so let's just double checking everything. And let's get out of here. Back down I go. So I just ran up to do that. Which is obviously suboptimal, and that's why I'm doing this other stuff. All right. So once you have the fan, you need to move it into some type of container to compress the gas to cause the pollutants in the atmosphere to turn to a liquid. And of that, you have an open design where the gas goes in. You restrict the flow out using a one-way valve and a cowl, or you fill a container and then once it's full, or during the day, you reverse the fan, empty it back out, and the next night you refill it. So this design is going to be the former, where I'm just going to fill the pipes and use a one-way valve and cowl to bleed. This is actually similar to what I currently have in a larger scale, where I bring gas in and I leak it out. In this case, instead of using active vent, I'm using a large powered vent, which brings in much more air. Also, I'm using a single one-way valve and a single cowl, and that allows the pressure to go much higher. Generally, if the pressure is higher, you get a better liquid transfer. And I switched to the open design where air flows out, because I found that the liquids moving from the gas side to the liquid side is actually a few degrees cooler. And with this design, it turns out I would get a cooling factor of up to 160. And with the previous designs, I was getting 145, 146 in a single cycle of the system. The other advantage is that it's much simpler. All the code has to do is, if it's below a certain temperature, turn on. If it's above a certain temperature, turn off. And since there's a one-way valve with a cowl, it'll auto-empty itself. So if it pressure rises up during the night, day hits, it gets hot, it turns off, it'll empty itself out most of the gas, which is perfectly fine. You might notice I'm not using a small tank. I'm using inline tanks in this case. With more experiments, just having 3 is sufficient. It works just as well as the small tank in the case where it's open circuit, which is what I'm doing here. Now, you might notice I have 3 condensation valves hooked up to this, where before I did say that only 1 is required, and probably just 1 is required. In this case, I'm going for an overkill. Ran a pipe. I'm going for overkill and just putting in the 3. They're simple one-way valves. They're pretty cheap, so why not? Also possible I can get away with fewer inline tanks, but this is what I tested with, and I've been cycling these tests over and over and over, offline. And I go, okay, this setup works pretty well. I got 160 which is better than anything I've done before. I was in the mood to go back and start removing pieces, run the test, remove more pieces, and see what the minimal design is. And it's possible I could pull out a few components, but the components I would remove are very cheap to build. So I'm just going to throw it all out there and, be done with it. I will do a follow-up standalone video where I'll spend some time doing more experiments and try to simplify it even further. But the code now is pretty simple. As I said, the code is, you can literally do the coding using logic circuits if you wanted to. It doesn't require much components. You're just turning the fan on and off based on temperature. That's all you got to do. So that's pretty easy. The other thing I'm doing here is I'm using the smaller inline liquid tanks just because it fits better. That's the reason. It fits better. And with that configuration, I did get the highest cooling factor of 160. So maybe making them bigger would make it a little better. There seems to be a point where the general pattern works, and changing things around just adds a little bit. I've not seen any one chain make some big, like go from 100 to 200 cooling factor. It's always been these little things, a little bit more, a little bit here, a little bit there. So I think you could whip up almost anything in this general pattern and it's going to work for you. Now, this whole thing I'm doing, I'm kind of whipping it up fast out of memory and, doing this in creative mode when you've got plenty of time to think about it and it's easy to pull out pieces and you're not cooking in the hot day and all that. So I'm just sort of, I just got to get it generally right. It doesn't have to be perfect because of this pipe right here. I'm doing it wrong. This pipe is wrong. I will fix it. I'm definitely trying to rush this assembly because I want to get it done, because until I get this done, I can't fix the cooling stuff going on for water production. And I'm going to rip out that old crap that's just driving me crazy. So once I have this up and running, I can rip out a lot of that old other stuff I have that I've been manually playing with and move forward. Now you may notice I'm using a large heat exchanger. I think I'm very convinced that's the way to go. Do not use the small heat exchanger. I think after playing with it, I think they're crap. I guess if you have a very small need, it's fine, but here I'm trying to move a lot of heat around, so I'm going one to large. And it's getting a little toasty out here. I swapped my canister for my waste tank. And back inside. Grab some more stuff and head on back out there. Trying to think what I don't need. I mean, the general pattern seems to be that I'm going to is you move gas into a set of pipes or a set of gas pipes. You want some volume in it. You just don't want just pipes. You need to have some volume to allow more liquid to condense. You need and then you need to vent that out. So the one-way valve with a cowl directly on top of it. If you have a one-way valve and a bunch of pipes and then a cowl, then too much air flows through. So you need a one-way valve with a cowl directly attached to it, and that seems to restrict the flow enough that the pressure gets up to about 20-some megapascals, which is fine. Then after you have that, so you have gas coming in, you have gas leaking out, you're pressurizing, you have liquids forming. You can use a passive condensation valve. I have got away with using just one. That seems fine. In this case, I put 3 in just because they're cheap, and I didn't want to go back and start removing them and see if it really helps a lot. I mean, it doesn't hurt. Let's put it that way. Once you have that, you have this liquid forming in the liquid side. That's wonderful. So then I have a purge valve to remove any excess pressure. And this is important because I'm going to put heat on that side, and that cool liquid, which is around 65 Celsius during the night, will heat up. And when it heats up, that means the liquid turns into gas, and you got to get rid of that heat. So in this case, I use a purge valve. So as gas form, you purge it to a certain pressure. That's as it heats, the gas purges off, and that seems to work just fine. And this is an open circuit system, so since I'm sitting in the atmosphere, I just send it out. Okay, I'm going to speed up this screwing around the water stuff since you've seen that a few times, and we'll just go past there. So anyway, so back to design. I mean, that's basically it. You know, atmosphere gas comes in, you pressurize it, you get fluids. The fluid is used for cooling. It gets hot, turns into gas. You use a purge valve to get rid of the extra gas, and round it goes. It only runs at night. And here I am finally taking advantage of that smart canister. And the code worked, and it pumped it up to 19,000. Now, it's not exactly 19,000 because there's like a little tick overflow. It puts in just a little bit, but that's fine. And my water bottles are... There's a big couple water bottles. I think those two are... Got 2 empty ones. That's 100. That's 100. I'll drink a little bit more of this. You can run out of food. So when I run out of food, I'm just going to make a automatic oven, and then I have a pretty good source of potatoes, and I'll just make baked potatoes and live off baked potatoes. And yeah, we got we're definitely net positive. I'm pulling a lot of O2 out as I did these initial fills of the smart containers. But definitely, we're definitely generating O2 and generating O2 at a rate that keeping up with both breathing and water supply. Barely. But I'm gaining more water slowly. All right, some more generic. Oh, another bottle of water. Another generic scenario playing with the water stuff. And I threw in 2 full bottles of water, which is good. Even this crappy system is, generating water. And we filled that O2 tank, another batch, and kind of waiting for it to get a little cooler. I'm going to make the chip now that I'll use to run the fan. The code for this will be in a link. It's pretty straightforward. And yes, I should put this on its own transformer, as I mentioned before. I can't see the thing. I have to scroll down on the list. And there it is. This is playing with fire since it's visible to so many things. It's so easy to forget to change the target and just zap something. And then you're like, something stops working. And then if you hope it just stops working, doesn't blow something up. Looking at stuff I have and what I need and don't need. Hopefully, I'm trying to think if I need those anymore. I think I regret that. I have to come back and try to make room, I think, for more stuff. Now this is where having a heavy suit would help a little bit. Grab some iron. Make some more valves. I think I need another one. I'll need some liquid tanks, liquid pipes. Maybe not. I don't actually get around to upgrading the power system. I've been doing all this. I don't know why I stare at these tanks all the time. Now there's going to be when I get the new system up and running, it's going to take a while to cool the CO2. And that's because originally I was going to go ahead and separate some of the CO2 I collected to make it faster to cool with its own tank and move some gas over. I think I just made another tank and just open a valve up and let gas flow to the other area. And that way I continue to collect CO2. But I decided, I just want to start getting this thing moving. And the more CO2 you cool, it's going to take longer to cool it. But once you cool it, you have a large mass of CO2. And so you can, shock it more, like when you have a bunch of water you want to cool quickly. You can throw it at it, and then, for water production, it's sporadic. It runs for a while and then it stops for a while, and so you can just go ahead and do something like that. I'm going to put a transformer here just so I can isolate all this crap. Mostly it's just so when I set up the housing, I don't have to sort through 5,000 devices. 3,000, just made the number up, seems okay. I know I got way too much stuff on this cables. And I'm going, that's probably far enough away. And at this point, I'm not going for pretty, I'm just going for functional. I want to get it up and running for this next night cycle hits. Program these things, gas sensor, and should be the only two things on here. Drop the chip in. Okay, and I'm looking at this going, I need to vent, so I'll set this to 3,000 because it seems fine. I tried moving around, it didn't seem to do one thing or another. So I was going to vent the gas out, and I'm going, oops, I can't vent the gas out because I looped it. Bad developer. All right. Bad me. I think I had that tucked in a little better last time when I did it when I was experimenting. All right, so, and this what gets rid of the hot water vapor, I guess. Now, I do make a change that I talked about in my experimental videos, is that the gas that comes out here is not that hot. It's around 80 to 90 Celsius. So I'm going to put the exit cowl right in front of the vent, so it pulls in that cooler gas back in. And you may ask, why don't you just connect it directly to the gas pipe? Why have a cowl? And that's because a purge valve, as the pressure goes up, the amount of gas it moves goes down. and that gas line will have pressures, 20 megapascals and up. Effectively, I actually tried just to see if it worked or not, and no, it did not. It could not keep up with the amount of gas forming in the liquid pipes, not at all. So I did this way. And then the next problem, I need to get this pipe up away from everything. This is the hot gas coming out, and you don't want to just suck it right back in again. So you need to move it some distance away, and I'm not sure. I didn't want to move it towards me because that's where I have the other power vent. So I figured I'd go up. Well, this caused its own problem because I can't get up there. So I'm going to try to hop on top of the large radiator. And so this is the limitation of jetpack. I'm right at the edge of that. If you get the hop just right, and I will get up here. This is how high you can get with a jetpack, and that's by sort of getting a momentum going. And then I go, I need to put that one-way valve on here. Forgot that. Where's my wrench? Okay, take that off. And nope. There. That one go up. Didn't they have a one-way valve before it didn't have a valve? I thought that was a thing. And so you basically had a valve and a one-way valve together. I wish they had a one-way valve that just was a one-way valve without this do-it lever on it. But I guess that's less models and stuff for them. And fortunately, I opened all those up before I put that heavy radiator in there. All right, so I'm looking through it. Looks good. I just have to connect the other side of the radiator. So turn this on, and nothing happens. Turn this on, and turn this on. And it works. It's cold enough outside, it's going to start sucking gas in. And because I like watching gas move around. Okay, so it's pumping up, it's making liquids. And you see, with my other configuration, it'll get up to like 144, and it stays around 135 or so. So it's definitely running a little cooler. That's the world. You can't, I try to put it on the radiator, you get nothing on the radiator. So here you got, now, the initial fluids that come out are a little warmish, and then it comes down pretty quickly from there. All right. So this is where I figure I'm just going to slam the CO2 I have. It's a lot of CO2. And I'm just going to say, I'm just going to turn off the switch, and I'm going to run this pipe all the way down into the other side of the radiator. My thought is I'm just tired of effing around with the stuff upstairs. I need to get this thing going here. It's always amazing how long it takes to construct things sometimes. I mean, this is one reason why I was trying to simplify the design, because, it just takes all this time to do it. So I need to look through it and make another pass to see if I can, what's a more simplified version of this. And I think I can remove some stuff, but you need the vent, you need the radiator, and you see there's over 8,000 kilomoles in there. It's a lot of CO2 to cool down. This would be a good test of the system. I don't have the display on there, but okay, now the next part of the problem is cool CO2 down there doesn't do me any good if I need to use it upstairs. And this will get funny. Or I'm just going to ram a pipe up there and bring the gas up. Trying to figure out at what point, and this is not going to be pretty at all. And as expected, the fan turned off because it's too hot outside. And it it went down a little bit. Okay, 9 degrees, 10 degrees Celsius. So that's a lot of gas to change temperature of. So it's working. It might take a few nights to get it down to a better temperature, but once it gets down there, man, it's going to be hard to bring it back up, which is what I want. So then it becomes a simple problem that if I put load on that CO2 and I can't keep the temperature, if the temperature keeps rising, the system I just set up, replicate it. Just put another one in there and keep replicating them until you can keep up with whatever the load you're throwing at it. So now what I'm doing, I'm trying to figure a way to get a pipe from down there to up here. And the problem is I've been using pollutants, which is not something you should do, as my cooling fluid. And you shouldn't do that because if you get it over 5.4 megapascal, it's going to turn into a liquid and your pipes will break. Somebody actually pointed out a comment that you shouldn't do that because if it breaks, you'll have your base full of pollutants, because they had that scenario. And I said, well, I won't let it get that much pressure. Hopefully. Because I check it every 5 minutes. So what I decide to do here is I go, okay. And I didn't want to connect the CO2 with the pollutant lines because I don't want to mix it up. And I don't want to flush out the pollutant line to, replace it with CO2 because I have we'll call it a functional system going. I don't want to break it because I'm just barely making enough water to keep it ahead. So I want to keep that system running. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to build another large heat exchanger. I'm going to build some cables here while I'm waiting around. And then I'm going to take the CO2 line from downstairs, bring it up and throw it in one side of the heat exchanger. Then I'll take the pollutant line that I'm currently using for cooling and put it on the other side. And that way the system downstairs will cool the pollutants instead of me using the that thing I stuck outside initially for cooling the pollutants. And then I don't have to vent anymore. Now, as long as and this way it allows me to put X amount of pollutants in there because I can reuse that later on. And as long as I keep the pressure below 5 megapascals, it's good for now. So that would basically allow me to minimize what I have to change to switch over to a new cooling system. And then once that's running, I can start ripping out the old cooling system in pieces and start automating the water generation. And once I have a large batch of water, then I can go back and do more, bigger surgery of things going on. And a little bit of water. Yeah, I make some heavy cables. I just don't get to replacing the rewiring. I just ran out of time for that. I'm going to do a little smelting here. I need some more silicon. Now I could grovel one of the other printers, but at some point I get tired of groveling and I'm just going to wait and make more silicon. So we got 2 more full bottles, and that's empty. Empty that out. And another full O2 bottle. So I got a whole crap load of O2. I'm going to fill this green one up. And now it won't blow up. I am definitely moving into the future here with automation. Except for the door. I haven't done the doors yet. Oh well. And just hot enough to make some silicon ingot. I'm going to crank this up a little bit. So all I'm going to do here is do some smelting. Then once I have that, I'll make some more insulated pipes. I'll make a large radiator and zip through here because I got to run a lot of pipe around. There it is. Think of what I need to take with me. Make sure I leave that turned off. It's too cold. Yeah. More heavy cables. Finally. All right. So let's. Why not? It's just some place to put it. You know, once again, it's not about being pretty at this point. I need some functionality. I got a lot of room to build down, so I got plenty of room to redo floors. Yep, need to weld it. It's going to go, well, let's just run it that way. That gets us closer to the other end. But at least I don't mix up the CO2 with the pollutants. So that's some goodness involved here. And this will go around here. Now, I'm going to keep running the old system. Let's add a safety factor. Let's target 4 megapascals of pollutants. So I have this working. Okay, so yeah, we don't have much, a little less than 1 megapascals right now. So I can run this a little bit. When it gets cooler, I'll run it some more and get it down a bit, or more gas in there. But the active vent outside, once it's switched over, then I can remove the active vent I've been using for the cooling purposes. Okay, so that's enough. That goes around there. That's fine. That pipe. So now we have to connect that end of the pipe somewhere down there. And it's still a little toasty out there, so I'm going to do a little organize. So I'm going to speed up this section. I'm just going to organize. I'm going to print up more insulated pipes. And then I start doing unique construction, and we'll bring it back down to normal speed. Haven't really get too stuck on running out of ore. I ran out of silicon, but I had plenty of ore. I just had to smelt it. All right, so this would be so easy if I could fly around my base and just lay out pipes, but I can't do that, so I have to be a little more creative here. So I'm going to run the pipe over. I'm running it this way. I'm moving in the right direction, so I know it's down there. I need to move it that way. And I figure, well, just run it down that wall, but I can't. So I'm thinking, well, maybe I come out the other way. So I empty the room out. My poor man's locker, airlock. Okay. Oh, I need a frame. I figure I need a platform I can step on because I can't fly. If I jump off, I can't get back up. And this is sort of a one-way deal. If I can't really come to the other side without, contaminating my whole building. Look, and that doesn't really buy me anything. Because I hop over, but I still can't reach down. I figure, well, I'll weld it anyway. Probably use it for something else. So I'm going to make the leap of faith. I made it. First shot, man. First shot. You saw it on video. I leaped down on top of the large. So another reason to have a large heat exchanger, it makes for a great building platform. Just for your information. Okay, so I'll make a platform over there. This Donkey Kong or something. Now I'm going to hop over here. Now, fortunately, it's easy to have the walls there. That's why I can run into the wall. Now, run the pipe down. Okay, now that's low enough. I can get from the other side. But I can't get back up now. Because I don't have a ladder with me. So I can't get back up there. My jetpack does nothing. It absolutely, you can't bounce nothing. I'm stuck. So I figure, let's just put the glass in so it won't be at least so bad when I open it up on the other side. Okay, so now we can run this pipe. Now this is easy enough. Boom, 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 boom. All right, so we all connected. We now have the new Uber cooling system, cooling a crap load of CO2, which in turn down to 115. Looks like it's trying for 114. And we'll just see what's going on. So that's 138. That's not bad. And that's 88. Now it is dropping. It's a little warm because obviously there's a big heat sink on the other side of it. So the fact it's actually coming down is a good thing with all that mass on it. And this is 113. It's coming down. 112. It's working. Okay, now the problem is getting back in my base. So go around this way, and then, oops, I don't have a advanced airlock on here. I realized maybe I crawl across the roof and jump down. And we're back. Then get back in here, put my glass up, empty the room, and we're all good. Bet you didn't see that one coming. You need like a challenge, no jetpack while constructing. You can use a jetpack for mining, but no jetpack for construction. Or maybe it's just no jetpack at all, I guess. And then you have to really, no jetpack challenge. You just can't use a jetpack at all. And what you do is, so you don't accidentally turn it on, because you don't want to have the error up all the time. You can just remap the jetpack key to something just to blank it out, so you hit the J or whatever, nothing happens. Okay, so 104. And this side is 90. Now it's coming in from outside still, so I have to make sure I don't overpressurize it. But as long as I don't that's closed. And more water. Yeah, man. This is going good. Now it's that this is kind of a cheesy water system, because as long as they hit that 100 Celsius threshold, it'll just load in there. And we'll speed it. So my little pile of water bottles is building up. The pressure is still pretty decent. And turn the lights on. Find my equipment, and Empty that out. Check this room. We're going to drop the O2 bottle over. Now, obviously, the correct solution is to have logic to extract the extra O2 out of the hydroponic room. I'll put that in once I double the size of the hydroponics. I'm not moving that much gas at this point. Once I double the size, then it'll become a point of doing it manually will be too hard. So, and I printed some more junk up. So I have my extra solar panel. I have glass. I have heavy cables. And I said, well, it's been a lot of work getting that construction done. So I figured, let's just do a little mining and then we'll call it an episode, and I'll just do the solar on the next one. I mean, and I found nickel. I was like, all right, found nickel right here. Use some nickel. So that kind of worked out. So that's about it. I'm just going to mine and pop up to the base and call it good. Filling up my belt pretty quickly here. And a little Frankenstein. Oop, made it. I didn't have to go down the lower level. More ore to play with. All right, so that's the end of this episode. Until next time, see ya.